Hey everyone, it's Pete Nicolay from howtoanalyst.com, and today I'm showing you how the Control key can help you navigate your Excel spreadsheet without a mouse. Let's get started right now.
The first thing we're going to cover is navigating between cells. Simply, how do you get from one cell to another? Well, the easiest way to do that is using the arrow keys. I'm using the right arrow key, and you can tell the cell is moving. I'm using the down arrow key. I'm using the up arrow key. That's the easiest way to navigate between cells. Now, what if you want to get from cell C2 to cell C14 quickly? Well, you need to use the Control key in concert with the arrow keys. For example, Control down takes me from cell C2 to C14. Control up takes me back. Control down, Control up. Likewise, Control right takes me from store number to sales. Control left takes me from sales to store number. Now, it can get a little more complicated when you have blank rows. For example, the store number for Atlanta and the store number for Boston is blank. So when I'm on store number and I click Control down, it's going to stop at B6 because that's the last row with a value in it. So it takes me a little bit longer to get from B2 to B14 because I have to control down, control down, control down, control down. And that's just because there are blank rows. So the logic behind it is it stops at the last cell with a value in it. Likewise, going left to right, go from store number 9 to California because there are no sales in this column. We're navigating in this data, but what if we go up to cell A1 and we press Control right? Well, that takes us to the very last column XFD. What if from here we hit Control down? That takes us to the very last row 1,048,576. So often people get a little lost in their spreadsheets. They don't know where they are. Well, it's helpful to look at the column and look at the row to see where you are in your spreadsheet. In addition, when you get lost, simply click the Control Home key and it'll take you back to your data. So here we are in the nether regions of our spreadsheet, and if I click Control Home, I'm back to where we started. Now we know how to navigate between cells using the Control and arrow keys. Let's talk about how to select multiple cells. So here you've selected B2, but how do you select multiple cells? Well, you need to use the Shift key. So hold your Shift key, arrow key down, arrow key over. And now you've selected multiple cells, and you can format those cells, you can copy those cells, and we'll go through that throughout. But simply to select multiple cells, Shift and your arrow key. In addition to copy a large amount of data, you can use Shift, arrow key, and Control to combine what we learned earlier. So I'm in cell B2 and I'm going to press Control, Shift, right arrow. And that not only navigates to the last cell, it selects the last cell. If you press Control, Shift, down, it'll select all the cells below it before it hits a blank row. Control Shift down, Control Shift down, Control Shift down. Now you've selected all the cells in your table. An alternative to the Control Shift down and over is Control Shift 8. Now Excel identifies what area your data occupies and selects it. It can be a little finicky depending on how it's set up, but often it's pretty good. So that's just go into the middle of your data and press Control Shift 8. In addition, Control A does the same thing. They're synonymous commands. Now we can navigate between cells. We can select multiple cells. Well, what do you want to do once you've selected those cells? Control key can also help there. So let's select our whole table, Control Shift 8. Now, actually, let's just select a few rows using Shift and the arrow key over and the arrow key up. Okay. Now, hold Control and press I. Control I, Control I. That italicizes your data. Control I. Okay. Hold Control and press B. Control B bolds your data. In addition, Control U underlines your data. Now let's say we bold Atlanta, or we bold the state of Georgia. And we don't want, that was an error. We don't want it bolded. Control Z is equal to undo. So when you're going through and making changes in your spreadsheet, Control Z is your best friend. Whoops, I didn't mean to bold those. You're always just one Control Z away from getting back to where you were. In addition to the big three, Control B, Control I, and Control U, there's a lot more. My favorites are Control Shift 4, formats it as a $sign with 2 decimal points. Formats your number. Control Shift 5 formats your number as a %. Control Shift 3 formats your number as a date. In addition, Control Shift 7 puts a border around your cell. Control Shift 7. Control Shift 7. Now, if you want to get rid of your border, you can press Control Z to undo, but you can also press Control Shift minus. That gets rid of your border. There's a lot of other Control Shift 1, 2, 3. I don't use those as much. Control Shift 1 just gives you a normal number with 2 decimals. Control Shift 2 gives you time. Control Shift 6 gives you exponential notation. And like we covered, Control Shift 8 highlights all the data. Let's go over copying and pasting your data. We want to highlight the first 3 rows. So Shift and the over key, Shift and the down key. Control C copies your data. These moving cells, this moving border shows you that that's what you've copied. Let's arrow key over to cell G2 and Control V paste your data. And if you want to get rid of that, if you didn't like what you did there, Control Z performs an undo operation. So let's Control V. In addition to Control C and Control V, you can use Control D to drag down cells. For example, we want to recreate these couple of cells. So let's highlight them with the Shift over key. And now let's highlight some cells below it with the Shift down key. To fill these rows with the same data that you highlighted, press Control D. Control D pulls your data down to the cells below.
Similarly to Control D, Control R lets you drag cell content to the right. To use Control R, highlight the data that you want to move to the right, Shift spacebar over, and press Control R.
We've said Control C is copy. Let's talk about Control X, which is cut. What's the difference between cut and copy? If I copy these cells, they'll also appear here. If I cut these cells, there'll only remain those cells. You're just moving them from one cell to another. So that's Control X is cut. Now let's say we want to move sales to the front. How do we move sales to the front of this spreadsheet? We want sales to basically replace store number, and we want to move the other columns further to the right. To do that, you want to highlight sales, press Control X, and then highlight your store with Control Shift down. To move sales, press Control Shift plus. Plus and equal sign are the same. That moved sales to column G, and it pushed store number, city, and state over to the right. In addition, you can quickly select entire columns using the Control spacebar. So Control spacebar selects the entire column. So say you want to move store number, Control spacebar, Control X, Control spacebar, Control Shift plus. Control spacebar highlights the entire column. Shift spacebar highlights the entire row. So we want to highlight the entire row. We want to move it below Detroit. Control X, go below Detroit, Shift spacebar, Control Shift plus.
Let's say you don't like this row that contains Miami and you just want to get rid of it entirely. Shift spacebar highlights the row, and Control minus completely gets rid of it. Again, Shift spacebar highlights the entire row, and Control minus gets rid of it. Similarly, let's say we don't like this column, column F, Control spacebar highlights the entire column, and Control minus gets rid of it. Control minus eliminates the entire column. This, in addition, this also works with individual cells. So let's just say we want to get rid of this cell G1. Control minus will delete the cell, and we have the option. Do we want to shift the cells up? Do we want to shift them to the left? Let's shift them up. As you can see, all the cells shift up because you eliminated G1.
Let's talk about finding and replacing. Let's find and replace Denver's in this set of data. So let's select this set of data, Control-Shift-8, like we talked about earlier, and Control-H brings up the Find and Replace menu. So we want to find Denver, and we want to replace it with Colorado Springs. And press replace. There you go. Denver changed to Colorado Springs. In addition to Control H, Control F just finds it for you. So let's find Boston. Just click Find Next, and it highlights the cell Boston. In addition, Control G brings up the Go To menu. Now, I don't use the Go To menu very often, but let's say we want to go to F10, cell F10. Click OK, and Go To takes you to cell F10. The most interesting part of Go To is the Go To Special button. So let's highlight our table with Control-Shift-8, Control-G, and click on Special. To me, this is the most powerful part of the Go To. For example, Go To Special, let's click on blanks. So we're saying in this set of data, go to the blank cells. Okay, as you can see, this cell, and this cell were selected. There's a lot of cool things you can do with that, but for now we're just going to leave it at Go To Special blanks. Okay, a few more shortcut keys. Control S saves your file. Control S saves your file. If you're working with a lot of data and you're doing a lot of number crunching, get familiar with Control S, because you always want to be constantly saving your work so you don't lose it. Control S. In addition, Control P prints your page. Control P brings up the print menu. Okay, we're going to leave off with, we've covered navigating between cells. Now we're going to navigate between tabs. Control tab, Alt tab, Other tab. How do you get there without clicking using a mouse? Well, it's Control and page up and page down. So Control page up takes you backwards from Control to Alt. Control to Other. Control page down takes you forward. Control page up takes you back. Control page down takes you forward. So that's how you navigate between tabs. So now we're on the Alt tab. Now we're on the other tab. Control page down takes us from other to Alt back to Control. Control page up and page down lets you navigate between tabs. Control tab lets you navigate between Excel files. Okay, so here we are in our Excel file with store data. Control tab takes you to a completely different book, a completely different file. Control tab takes you back to your original file. Again, we're not moving between tabs, we're moving between completely different files. Control tab, Control tab. Control 1 brings up the Format Cells menu. Now there's a lot of stuff you can do in the Format Cells menu, and that's practically a video in and of itself. What we will discuss is how to navigate between the Number tab, the Alignment tab, Font tab, using your keyboard. And it's the same shortcut that you use to navigate between tabs. Control page down takes you from the Number tab to the Alignment tab. Control page down takes you from the Alignment tab to the Font tab, to the Border tab, to the Fill tab, to the Protection tab. Control page up takes you back.
Thanks for learning with me today. If you have any comments, leave them in the comments section below. Otherwise, check out howtoanalyst.com for more videos like this.